itchy, tiny, contagious, creepy, persistent,
unseen, annoying, sneaky, and stubborn.
Wiggly, tickly, yucky, and usually our favorite word, gross. Welcome to Oh Gross. I'm Kara, your host, and I've been investigating stories for over 20 years. And I'm joined by my co-host, Jennie, who's our resident scientist.
Hello.
And Molly, who always keeps it real.
Hey, dudes.
And as always, this show pulls back the layers on what people are curious about, but are too afraid to discuss or ask. And today's subject?
Drum roll, please.
Dun 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 dun. Everything you needed to know about pinworms.
Finally, yay! My favorite subject. But don't get squeamish because we're bringing you the science and the facts.
And don't forget the smiles.
Oh, gross. The drama's about to end, 'cause gross. Stop asking for a friend. Taboos. Icky's what we do. It's just science. Yeah, it's not so weird. Your gross out journey starts right here on Oh, gross.
All right, ladies, let's talk pinworms.
Yay!
Do we absolutely have to?
Listen, we
Yes.
do because, first of all, Jenny's always wanted to talk about pinworms. So,
Yes.
so that we know that. But Dr. Steve had said to me when we were talking about parasites, remember, that pinworms are the thing everybody's got to worry about in America. And the very first time I heard about pinworms was when Kristen Bell on her social media talked about her kids having it and then she got them.
Yes.
And I thought it was something that was like not too common, but it turns out totally wrong. They're everywhere. Is that right?
They're everywhere. And by the way, did you see the video that I sent you to look
Yeah.
at of the pinworms and a colonoscopy?
I'm actually scarred from the video. I'm scarred from it.
Do you know what Kara's reply was? I hate you, LOL.
Yeah. I just wrote, I hate you. Because, by the way, everyone, I want to be very clear, okay? We believe in colonoscopies. Get your colonoscopy. And the person did not get pinworms from the colonoscopy. The person had pinworms and didn't know it and saw the colonoscopy. We'll put it up on the website. But yes, I literally hated you that day. But it got me thinking. And then, of course, then the rabbit hole starts of researching pinworms and understanding it. And we'll get into it. But just let's talk about an umbrella here, guys. You can get pinworms like so many different ways.
Yes.
And the fact that it's not normalized in everyday conversation, whether you have kids or not, if you're around children, if you're around anything, right, people should talk about pinworms more because it's a real thing. And it's also something that's very easily treatable, right?
It is.
And very easily transmitted.
And very easily transmitted. Thank you, Molly. Exactly. So I don't understand, like, it's talk about taboo subjects, but like pinworms, like even my stylist was asking me what's coming up, in your episodes. And I had said, we're going to do pinworms. And immediately her face was like, what? Wait, but I can't get that. I'm like, oh, you can.
Oh, yes, you can, sister.
Yeah. I mean, I think we all kind of thought about it for such a long time as like that old school thought of, well, if my kids are playing in the sandbox or out in the
Right.
dirt, that's the only way they're going to get
That's how-
pinworms. And that's not true.
So true. That's what I thought too, Jenny. I literally, for up until doing scratching the surface, all puns intended,
I was just
Of
going to say that.
of research, I mean, I really did believe it was really kind of like a soil, dirt, kids' hands in sand and dirt, and then your fingernails being dirty. I didn't realize it was like so many different ways. And with that, why don't we start off by listing the top couple of ways that you can get pinworms?
Oh, my gosh. I'm
Well-
horrified right now.
Number one, let's preface it with saying that it is highly transmissible. So it is easy to get, easier than people thought it was. So of course, even in the old school thought, out playing in the dirt or the sandbox, and you get some of those eggs that are outside, and it's usually transmitted through feces at first, under your fingernails, method number one, and you don't wash your hands, and then you put your fingernails in your mouth.
Right.
You're going to
Kids.
ingest the eggs. Yep. And that's an easy way to get it. And I've got another way, but I need you to prepare yourself for this.
Okay.
Well, I was going to say, we don't want to bite our fingernails. That's a good way to get pinworms, is biting our fingernails.
Right. Biting your fingernails. And by the way, guys, I want to say this because I don't bite my fingernails. I do other things. I definitely have little habits I need to break. But I have people in my family who do. My family meaning my husband, and now my kids are starting.
Brian.
Yeah, Brian. I know. I tell him all the time. I'm like, stop it. I don't care how clean your fingernails are. We have learned on this podcast thus far, pinworms ain't the only thing you're going to get from biting those fingernails, because you look at a dirty kid's fingernails, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jennie, but you're not always going to see it. You could have microscopically, right, with pinworms
Right.
under your nail, and your nails might look clean to you, right? But they ain't clean.
Exactly. That's what they say, to wash under your nails. When you're washing your hands, you've actually got to wash under your nails and make sure you're scrubbing.
And how often are you scrubbing under your nails when you go to like a public bathroom or you're doing
Right.
something? You know, you might be doing the happy birthday like
Most
our
of
buddy
us
at
aren't.
CNN wants you to do.
Yeah,
But most of us
right.
are not bringing. You're not bringing a nail brush in the bathroom with you everywhere you go. To really
Exactly.
get under there. Yeah.
Right. Most of us aren't. So it's something to think about, because the second way you can get it, and you might be a little bit scared by it, but I want you to hang with me.
No, I'm scared.
Okay.
I want to go. Molly, let's go run for the door.
Like, Kara, get your questions ready.
Okay.
I'm clenching my butt cheeks right now. Is it another way to get him?
When you pet your dog, you might get pinworms.
What?
Molly.
Don't tell me that.
Yeah, wait a minute. Don't tell.
No.
But hold on. Wait a minute. Okay, so does that mean that your dog can have pinworms, or what do you mean by that when you say when you pet your dog you get pinworms? Because I did see something on TikTok about a doctor saying do not sleep with your dog for so many reasons. Like there was a long list of reasons, which we're still going to sleep with our doggies, but one of them was a parasite section. So I'm curious. So how do you get pinworms from your pet?
So pinworms are roundworms, number one. So the good news is that your animals don't get the same type of roundworm that we do. So pinworms are only a species that we get. So pinworms are not transferable between species. So that's number one.
Okay.
Wait, for the lay dumb person like myself, I'm just gonna, you can tell me if this is correct. What you're saying is a dog doesn't have pinworms, or the kind of pinworms that a human can have, and a human doesn't have the kind of pinworms that a dog could actually contract.
Right.
Okay.
Dogs or cats or your animals get a type of roundworm that is different than pinworms that we get. So the pinworms are a type of roundworm. So the way is that an egg can actually be transmitted via being stuck on your pet's fur.
Okay. So so we know that pinworms, because we all know that playing in the dirt, kids' nails, things like that. So I have that in my nail, or my kid has that in their nail, and then they go and play with the doggy, and an egg gets on their fur. It doesn't necessarily die. It can live in the fur. Okay.
Just like it can live on other surfaces, it can be attached to the fur. And then if you're petting the dog and then you bite something on your fingernail or lick your finger or something, you can actually ingest those eggs that were stuck on the fur. The egg.
Can the egg hatch on the fur or no?
No.
Okay. So it's an egg situation again. Okay.
It's the egg. And the egg is what you would get that would travel into your intestines.
Okay, great.
Your face. I know, it's awful to think about. If you pet your dog or you are brushing your dog, they can actually kind of go airborne also. And you can inhale sometimes the eggs. Yes.
Wait a minute. So is this specific to outdoor pets, or is it also for indoor pets?
If the animal is outside and, for example, the dog going to the bathroom outside and some of the feces happen to get on the dog's fur, the eggs can actually transmit from the fur back into your house. And then you're petting Fido or brushing Fido, you can get it on your hands and, of course, ingest it that way. Or you can actually let it go into the air and you can ingest or inhale some of the eggs.
And going back to what Molly just said, so this would be more typical like in, let's say, a dog that is going outside than a cat that is an indoor cat or an indoor bunny or guinea pig.
Right,
Right.
right.
Yeah, okay.
Right. Unless, somehow you've potty trained your dog or cat and they're on your toilet and you have pinworms, and then they somehow get the feces on them and then take it to someone else's bedroom. That's my crazy scientist mind trying to think of how it could happen.
We all laugh, but we've all seen the dogs trained on the toilet, TikToks and social media videos. So
right.
And in the
it's
movies,
a valid
yes.
point. And the movies too. It's a valid point. It's a valid point. So I also read, and I need to know if this is a myth or not. We know from Dr. Steve, the flashlight, right? That people take a flashlight, and I envision it's dark in the room and the flashlight goes on, and it's like all of a sudden little wormies are coming out like doo, doo, doo. Is that because they are attracted to light, these little wormies, or is it because they're like at night sort of hanging out closer to the entry of your rectum?
So at night, they're a little more active.
Okay.
And a lot of times when the host is asleep and they're not, awake and walking around and maybe scratching, because they do cause a lot of itching down there.
Right.
One of the ways you can check, yes, is to put a flashlight down there, because you can see the little worms coming out of the anus at night with the little flashlight.
Because they're having a party down there. Because
They're having a little party.
That's when they all hang out. Wow. Okay. And then, I read that you can use tape, Scotch tape. Ladies, is this true?
The tape test. Yes.
Well, you say this, Molly, like everyone should know. The tape test.
The tape test.
It is the tape test. So the tape test, yes, you can actually spread the cheeks and you put a piece of tape down there and you can actually pull it off, and then you can see the eggs or the worms attached to the tape.
Okay. You're not going in your butt with the tape, though. You're like on the outside using the tape to see.
The outside. And you can bring that tape sample to your doctor for the doctor to analyze. And then usually they'll want you to repeat that test. But they can actually look at even the egg, not just the worm, but the egg under the microscope to determine the type of worm egg that they're seeing.
And then I read that a lot of times they will take samples under your fingernails, too, sometimes, right?
They can also take samples under your fingernails. Yes. Because the eggs can get stuck under there. Remember, they are microscopic. So if you're not scrubbing under the fingernails, then they can scrape under and put it on a slide. And sometimes they can see the eggs from the crud that's come from under the fingernail.
Okay, really important question. Butts can itch for lots of different reasons, right?
Correct.
Yes.
So, asking for a friend who might have hemorrhoids, not me, of course, ever. How do we know the difference between, what could be a variety of reasons for anal itch?
I mean, you really don't know the exact reason, but a lot of times it is very, very itchy. I mean, very itchy, they say. So if you see your child just constantly digging in and they have showered, and maybe it's a lot of times with kids, it's that maybe they haven't wiped correctly or they didn't rinse soap out or, something like that. But if it's constant, you might want to do the flashlight test or the tape test and definitely get it analyzed by your healthcare professional, because they are supposedly very, very itchy, and the kids will just dig in itching, scratching all the time.
And it's really contagious.
So every time our kids itch their butts does not mean that they have pinworms.
Then they have pinworms.
Yes.
All right, now here's my question for both you guys. Has either one of you had pinworms?
No,
not that
yet.
I know. Not that I know of. I
No.
don't think I've ever had it. And the kids, these are my stepchildren, so I inherited them at an older age, but they never had any symptoms or anything like that. They just had the normal boy butt itching, the nasty sweat boy itching.
Which we learned, jock itch, many things we talked about.
Yes.
That one.
Yes.
Bacteria, fungi, right?
Yes.
Yeah. But it is so common. It can spread through a classroom. Yeah, like
Right.
30
I
to
was gonna say-
50% of the kids in one classroom, 30 to 50% of them
Can get it.
can actually get it, and if someone has it in the classroom.
I want to say this, and I mean, maybe other schools are better about it, but at least we get like a note home now about lice. It seems that people say, hey, even if they're not testing, there's a lice case. But I mean, I have never received a note that says somebody in the class has pinworms. And I cannot believe, looking at the stats, that somebody didn't at some point, right?
Right.
Encountering from preschool or something, have pinworms. So it feels like it's funny that it's such a taboo sort of topic, because, have you guys ever seen that? I've never gotten a note home that says
I've never, and there definitely is a stigma attached to it for sure. But so many mom friends that I know and teachers have all told me about when their kids had pinworms. So I know it's very common because I know a ton of people who have had it and had to treat the whole family and
Yeah.
had to go through all the washing and everything else. So I know a ton of people have had it, but I don't think that it's something that the school will consistently notify parents of because, again, it's such a taboo topic, although
Right,
it
they-
happens
nobody
all the
wants-
time.
Nobody wants to talk about the butt, just like the colonoscopy. Nobody wants to talk about the behind.
So when it comes to schools or telling people about it, the time frame is really different. It's not just, hey, we have pinworms, and then the next day, hey, maybe you should go get tested or whatever, because how long can those eggs live?
They can live for 3 weeks.
Ooh. The eggs, not even the hatchies. The little eggs are just like hanging out in your behind for 3 weeks.
So they can
Or
be
on
viable.
surfaces.
On
Or on-
surfaces.
wait,
Right.
wait a minute.
On
I totally,
surfaces.
that went over my head. Wait, so it can be like on the surface for 3 weeks.
Mhm.
Yes.
Oh.
And they're highly transferable, which is why the cleaning is way more intensive
Right.
than with lice, for example.
Well, also another reason for the hover method for anybody in a public restroom.
Yes.
Somebody's behind 3 weeks before, even if you put that little paper down, all right, is going to be problematic. That's crazy. I did not know they can live on the surface for 3 weeks. And but Bobby, going back to the taboo-ness of it, that's why I love that Kristen Bell told the funniest story. I forget what nighttime night show was on, but it was really funny, and I was like, wait a minute, that's awesome, because the chances of you as a parent getting it once in your house are pretty high, right?
Oh, yeah. You're supposed to treat all the members of the household for sure because it's very, very easily transmissible. I mean, just think about how long they can live in your sheets or in your underwear.
Well, that's the
or,
thing with
you
your
know,
pets,
I mean,
right? They can live in your sheets. That's what the one TikTok was about. Was yes, your pet sleeps with you. You wake up in the morning or next day or two, and your butt's not itching or whatever it might be. But a lot of these things that dogs can carry or your pet can carry can live in the sheets for a long time. Hopefully, you are washing your sheets more often than 3 weeks. That's my next question. Can you wash your sheets and they go away?
I will say when I was researching this, the cleaning is way more intensive because you do have to, number one, treat the whole family. Number one, treating first, right? And then they want you to wash your hands frequently. Number two, and always scrubbing under the fingernails. So that's something that you're supposed to do a lot while you're kind of going through the treatment process. Showering in the morning. Showering in the morning is
because
part
they
of the
came out-
process.
Because they came out
Came
your
out at
bunk-
night.
Oh,
'Cause
they
they
because they
came
had the
out
party
at
in your
night.
butthole at night.
Yes. So showering in the
Oh.
morning, yes, which is different. Changing your underwear daily, which
Okay,
hopefully
guys,
we're doing, but yeah.
Please. I mean, if I had pinworms in my bunghole, I'm changing that underwear. I'm changing that underwear like hourly. Okay.
Same.
Can you see them in your underwear?
I'm sure you can.
I mean, I'm sure that if your case is bad enough, you probably would see a worm or two.
Should people be checking their fecal matter?
Yep.
Yeah,
Checking your
yeah,
fecal
yeah.
matter
Mhm.
because
Yeah,
they will
okay.
come out in your poo. Trimming your fingernails often is another part
But not
of
with your
the
mouth
cleaning.
like my husband. But not,
Not
with
with
your
your
mouth.
mouth.
Not with your mouth. Don't put those fingers in your mouth.
He uses a trimmer too, but I mean,
Yeah.
he does use the other method as well.
And then after all of those kind of prefacing things, it talks about cleaning the household. And this is different because you're supposed to wash your linens that you're sleeping with during at least the first several days of your treatment every day.
And by the way, you're not supposed to take the sheets off and kind of shake them or whatever because the eggs could fly off onto another surface.
Oh my God, it's a good point,
So-
Molly.
And you could inhale
So
them.
you probably want to roll the
Inhale it.
sheets up in a
Wait.
little ball.
I'm clearing my throat because you keep saying inhale. I'm like, oh my gosh. Sorry, guys. I feel like I have pinworms in my throat now. Okay. So the inhaling thing. I inhale pinworms. They're not going in my lungs, are they? Or are they going just to my
No.
bum?
They're going to go live in your intestines. The eggs
Okay.
will go. Yes.
But what if they go through my nose? How do they end up in my stomach cell? Or do they just I just want to make sure there's nothing there's not a respiratory pinworm we don't know
No.
about.
No, but if there were, Kara, you would be the one to get it. If
Hey, don't say that. Take it back.
I take it back.
Now,
I just
Wait,
kidding.
isn't there a vaginal pinworm
That makes sense.
that you can get?
You can, but mostly we see the typical pinworms are the type of roundworms that are in the intestines. They live in the
Okay.
intestines and they come out in your poo. So a lot of times when people notice they have them, along with the itching, when they go to the bathroom, they'll actually see the pinworms wiggling around in their poo. in the toilet.
Okay, whoa.
Okay, now I'm going to be checking my poo every single time to make sure.
You're already? No. Wait, so can pinworms be in your food? Because other parasites we talked about live in food, right? Or they're on food.
If it's prepared incorrectly with someone who didn't wash their hands and had the eggs on their hands.
But it's not coming from the fish. It's not coming from the meat.
No.
It's because someone touched something.
Right.
And then that's the only reason it would be there.
Yeah, that's how it would most likely be transferred.
I'm going to get really crazy here and I'm going to okay. I'm at a restaurant and the waiter brings me a drink and puts it on the table. And the waiter has pinworms and doesn't know it. Can it go from like that kind of surface too as well?
Well, if he didn't wash his hands and he put the ice on your glass with his fecal hands.
Well, no,
with
I mean,
his
I don't
fecal veneer
No one
hands.
would, I hope no one would do that. But we did do an episode where we talked about, and Dr. Steve confirmed that this research is not wrong. That a lot of usually one sex we won't talk about because I'm not trying to be sexist, don't necessarily wash their hands the same way that the other sex does.
Yeah. I mean, it's probably possible. Probably if he didn't wash his hands well in the bathroom and his fingernails were loaded with pinworm eggs, it's possible for sure.
But 9 times out of 10, it is being transferred from your pet or your kids, right?
And normally it's from your kids, yes. And
Okay.
biting fingernails and things like that, not washing your hands and under your fingernails thoroughly. But back to the cleaning. One of the things, and it's similar to, all the episodes we've talked about, with lice and cleaning the house and things like that, is that you want to make sure that you're heating your laundry up to at least
Right.
130 degrees Fahrenheit. So we want to
Okay.
wash on hot and dry on high heat for sure. So that's something else, is that you want to make sure that you have the dryer nice and hot. And then you want to wipe down frequently touched surfaces that I'm sure that your kids touch to make sure that dirty hands haven't picked up a toy and then they put it in their mouth or something like that.
Yeah, keep those sanitary wipes in your purse.
Yeah.
Just in case.
Vacuuming with a vacuum that has a HEPA filter. So you want to make sure that they're vacuuming with the HEPA filter, and that on the
My head's itching and we're not even talking about the head. Why is this happening? I'm getting itchy.
And it does say that this is different than lice, because you do need to disinfect with a soap or disinfectant your hardwood or your tile if, the kids have been running around and playing or the dog has run through something like that. And then, of course, they re-emphasize again, after you clean, making sure you're washing your hands and cleaning your fingernails after you're cleaning everything.
So do I need to add that onto my schedule of things?
Yeah, Molly needs to add fingernail scrubbing. What day of the week? Every day. Apparently, Molly, every day of the week.
I have very short nails. Maybe I keep them that way.
Yeah. Now I'm going to get rid of
Just to
mine.
be sure. Mhm.
Yeah.
And then I've got a couple of tips for the cleaning part. After the hand washing, one of the tips is that instead, and this makes total sense to me, instead of bathing in a bathtub, you want to take a shower.
Yeah, I can just imagine the warm water. They think they're like a jacuzzi. Like, what's up? If they're partying in your butt at night, it's like a jacuzzi for them in the bathtub. Yeah, exactly.
Right. So
Yeah.
shower. And then Molly kind of touched on this. Avoid shaking the clothes or the sheets.
Yeah.
So you want to be careful that you're not shaking that into the air, and you're carefully, emptying your vacuum cleaner, that kind of a thing. Also, you want to allow natural light in, allow the sun in.
Oh, that helps. The sun helps.
Because
That's
it's
cool.
going to help. Sunlight has been known to kill pinworm eggs. So
Ooh.
that is one thing that will definitely help.
Open your
And
drapes.
while cleaning, consider wearing a surgical mask so that you aren't
the
shaking
inhaling
things,
thing.
the inhaling. Yep. So that's something.
And gloves.
And gloves. And then making sure that you're following up for several days on those cleaning practices to make sure that while everyone's being treated with the medicine, the prescriptions that they're using, that we're following up on all of that cleaning.
Can we just sequester somebody? Can you just sequester them to one room and
Right.
make sure they are not
Well-
anywhere near anybody else in the household?
No, Molly, it sounds like you can't.
That's
You
what I would
can't
do.
Sequester anybody. Yeah, you can't. Because walking to the room, they could be dropping and letting little air into the air, the little eggs everywhere. And you can't sequester them without food in the room they probably discovered it in, which is going to be the bedroom at night when they're having the butt party. So it doesn't work.
Right.
But I read, wait, I need to know if this is true. I read that you can have them for years.
Yeah. People can have them
They don't
for
like die
years.
off. They just live.
Yeah. They're not going to just die off on their own. So people can have, from lighter infestations because it's caught more quickly to heavier, very bad pinworm infestations in their intestines. Absolutely.
I know we said it's really common and really transmissible, but I think we all need to know, because I've read a bunch of different things and I don't really know which one's correct. Like 1 out of X amount of people or kids have pinworms in the U.S. because I know Dr. Steve said it is the most prevalent parasite in the U.S. that they see.
Well, from what I researched, it's hard to gauge, how common it is with a percentage because it's not reported as often as it should.
No one's talking about it. That's why.
But
Yeah.
it is very common
Yeah.
because there are a lot of prescriptions that are made for children and families that have pinworms. So it is very common, and they have been able to study how many kids in a class get it.
Right.
And like he said, the statistic is it's definitely the most common type of parasite that we have. Everyone over here seems to get pinworms.
Yeah,
in
because
the
I read
US.
I read one thing was like 1 out of 3 kids or people, and then another was like 1 out of 5. But I mean, that makes sense. If no one's reporting it, you don't really know, but you know that it
I read
spreads
those statistics also, 1 out
Yeah.
of 3 and 1 out of 5. So I think it's probably somewhere, averaged in between there. It's something that I, of course, am a little scared of with my own kids, but I know it's easily treatable.
No, it's treatable. That's really important. Okay, we can have a fear of something because it's totally rational. Nobody wants to be scratching their behind all the time. Although
And
some
seeing
people,
your little friends coming out in your poo.
although some people do already, but but all puns intended. It is treatable. It is not life threatening. Correct,
Correct.
Jenny? How do we treat these pinworms that are freaking me out and Molly, and we're squirming?
Well, there are several ways to treat them. There is an over-the-counter called Pyrantel Pomote, and that's usually in any of the drugstores. It is fairly common. However, I would definitely be cautious about taking a dewormer that you buy from the store because, number one, something that's prescribed, that's prescription strength, is going to be very different from something you take over the counter. As well as taking any dewormer over the counter, you want to make sure you consult your healthcare provider just to be sure that that's what they recommend. There are also some very common
Well, hold on here. I got to clarify something because I know where my brain went. Dewormer, I usually associate with a dog, right? Deworming over the counter, pet and human, not the same, correct?
Correct. You never want to take something that is meant for an animal because it's not safe. You want to make sure that you are taking what is recommended and prescribed by your doctor, and also that you're not taking anything meant for an animal.
And just to reiterate, we are not recommending anyone to take anything over the counter for the itchy butt, but to call their doctor. However, we are just giving you information to talk to your doctor about if your butt does itch.
Absolutely. Talk to your doctor. Take in the tape. Get it analyzed.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you might be prescribed mebendazole and also albendazole. Those are 2 different prescriptions that are commonly filled. And those are the ones that they'll tell you want the whole family to take these medications. And they are prescription strength dewormers.
Okay. And your whole family is taking them out of precaution, even if they don't itch. Is that
Right.
What they understand?
Right.
So again, this information, so everybody understands, we are not telling you how to treat anything on Ogros. What we are doing is arming you with the information so you understand. Because sometimes, unfortunately, as we all know, doctors spend and can only spend a couple of minutes with you, and they say, take this, and you don't know why. And Jenny is giving you the information so that you know what is common when you find yourself in this situation, so you don't have to be worried if someone prescribed you something.
Absolutely.
And just a quick question about the symptoms. Can you have pinworms without having the itching immediately?
Or symptoms at all? That's a great question, Molly.
I mean, some people don't know until they've had it for a while just because they're not as sensitive. Everyone's a little more sensitive. Every single person is different, but eventually you will see the worms in your poop. So it's not like you would have it for years and years and not know it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
yes.
Molly and I do not have pinworms right now for the last 10 years and don't know it, is what you're telling us.
Yes. Yes.
Good.
So another funny symptom of pinworms can also be insomnia.
I have insomnia.
They're keeping you
Our
up at
producer,
night.
Jennie,
Wait a
you
minute.
too.
And also there have been people that have nightmares surrounding pinworms.
Which makes sense. That makes sense to me at the night. There was like a study done on like correlation of nightmares and pinworms. But I mean, if I had little creatures coming out of my bunghole at night, I'd have nightmares.
Same. I would have
too.
night terrors
Definitely.
That makes sense to me.
Yes.
I read somewhere that they want you to kind of keep like a diary, which I think they do that all with a lot of things. Like if you are experiencing, I think that's a great tip. If you are experiencing something odd, whether it be in the itchy category of your bum or even digestive stuff, like a lot of the recommendation is like to write it down when you're experiencing it. And I read that people will bring in, hey, I notice every night at, while I'm falling asleep at 7:00, feeling extra itchy down there. And then I don't feel like I'm sleeping. And they're like, okay, well, let's check your pinworms because even though I guess it affects your REM, which would make sense if you got a bunch of little creatures partying in your bunghole.
And some people may
Right,
not look
right.
at the toilet too. Some people, of course, that's the great fact to bring up because not everyone's going to inspect what's in the toilet
No, some
like
of us don't
others.
listen it.
So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, again, I live with a colon cancer survivor, so we both have looked at in the toilet, up the butt, anything. It doesn't matter here. We are open to we are investigating anything with our arses. But that's but again, I can't.
But.
Sorry, can't stop. That's a really good point, Jenny. That again, going back to what Oh Gross is about, like people are afraid to look in the toilet. But the good news is, even if that does ignite your gag reflex, and it might, and we respect that. There are so many other ways to, to talk to your doctor and say, hey, this is going on. And also know it's common and don't feel ashamed. It is so, so common that the odds are, according to some stats, that one of the three of us is going to get.
It's going to be Kara.
No,
It's not gonna
gonna
be-
Jenny.
It's probably
It's
going to
gonna
be
be-
me.
It's going to be Jenny, and she's not going to say anything for a couple weeks. That's what's going to happen.
And then, yeah. And I'll film myself on my phone and then I'll send you all the footage to surprise you. But no, I think it's good to end because with knowing that, like you said, it is common and people
Yeah.
don't talk about it and there's a stigma, but the statistics don't lie. And so many kids get it and the whole family has to be treated. And if Kristen Bell can talk about it, then we can talk about it.
Yeah, 100%.
And make sure people aren't afraid of it because it's just part of parenting in a way and just part of life.
And
So-
and
right.
pet parenting too. And pet
and
parenting
pet
too.
parenting. Right.
Yeah, like even if you don't have small children, right? If you've got a pet and you love your pet and you don't want to give up sleep with your pet, which I totally understand. Like my pet sleeps in my bed, even though I keep telling it not to, because it's their third child. You just need to know these things, like any kind of parenting, a pet parent or a child parent, to know that this is something that's possible to get and be cautious about it. And don't be embarrassed if it happens, because the worst thing would be like you have a cocktail party at your house and you pass, the butt worms to all your friends because you were ignoring your symptoms. You know what I mean? Right? As opposed to, that itch down there should be investigated just a bit.
Yes. Well, I promise if I get it that I will share it with you, all of our Ogros community, so that you all can follow
Not-
along the
wait.
journey with me.
Not
I'm
share
not-
it literally. Not
Yeah,
share it
Not
literally
share
with
literally.
us.
Exactly. We don't
share
want to share.
the journey, not the pinworms.
you.
We do not
Thank
want to
you.
share your parasite if you get in your butt. No. Again, I think this was a great topic, and I'm glad, I know you've been wanting to talk about it for a long time for this reason, because it is so common and people do not have enough information about it. We are going to have more information on our website. If you didn't memorize everything there is to know because you were in such shock and awe the minute we started talking about worms in your butt, don't worry. It's going to be on the website. And also you can check out our socials. And just to remind you, here's where you can do all that.
That's right, Kara. As you just mentioned, if everyone wasn't taking their lab notes during that conversation, which we understand, it's all waiting for you on our website, ogross.com, OHGROSS.com.
And if you are still itchy for some more information after today's discussion, be sure to check us out on our socials at It's Oh Gross on Instagram, Facebook, X, TikTok, and YouTube.
And until next time, if you're not doing it already, follow us wherever you get your podcasts. That's right. Hit that follow button right now.
Oh, gross. That drama's about to end, 'cause gross. Stop asking for a friend, taboos. Icky's what we do. Psoriasis, podiatrist, and pinworms too. It's so gross. No need for strife, because gross. Life is part of life. It's just science. Yeah, it's not so weird. We got the facts, nothing to fear. Oh, gross. It's just science. No, it's not weird. It's just science. It's just science, so wipe those tears. It's boogers and a rash and that sticky scratch. Oh, gross, that drama's about to end, 'cause